Hi, and welcome to Doctor Who Exactly. The year is 2008. David Tennant was still young and pretty, as opposed to right now he's just, pretty. And no, this isn't a prop or anything. I've legitimately managed to injure myself. I managed to get a cut about an inch deep into my skin. I've got stitched 3 times, 3 stitches, and glue. And if anybody ever told you about skin glue, well, that stuff hurts. Today, we're talking about the 2-part series finale of Series 4, The Stolen Earth and Journey's End. Now, Series 4 is a bit of a standout for me personally. It features my favourite New Who companion, Donna Noble. I really love the dynamic that she and David Tennant have. They are quite literally just pals being pals, panning around. I love the fact that they get mistaken for a couple the entire time and they're like, oh no, we're not, no. And she gives him sass and lip and attitude, and I love it when the companions they go against the grain of the Doctor, like, we're not supposed to take this alien time space being for granted because, bit weird. Understatement of the century. So Donna and Ten together are fantastic and I love them, and Series 4 had been building up to the epic return of Rose Tyler. Now, I am indifferent towards Rose Tyler, but I do understand, especially now so many years later, that Rose was pivotal and very important to many people who started watching this show for the first time with New Who. So for them, Rose is like nostalgia. And it's a bit weird for me to look at that because I was in my early 20s when I watched New Who, and for some people they were probably somewhere along the age of 10 or something like that. So Rose coming back is huge, it's massive. Personally not a fan, but that does not matter. It matters about the context of the story. The Doctor thought he'd lost Rose, and now Rose is coming back for this series finale, which is lovely and brilliant and invokes all kinds of emotions. Have we spoken about Russel T Davies before? We did this with Rose, I think, but let's retread some old ground. Russel T Davies' take on Who is very cheesy, but like a good kind of cheesy. Like, you see the stuff that's happening and it's all very dramatic flair, but it's camp. It's a bit like Batman Forever without going too far into Batman and Robin, if you get the Joel Schumacher analogy there. And if there's one thing Russel T Davies loved doing, it was to give us a big series finale where the stakes were so high that the Doctor has to... Luckily they dialed down a little bit in the series finales that followed, not the next one, Series 5, which was still about the end of the universe, but they started making sometimes a little bit more personal for the Doctor, as opposed to the universe is about to end again. Must be a day ending in Y. Yeah. This title, The Stolen Earth, it was kept secret. It wasn't revealed to the public until, next time on Doctor Who. So by the time that Turn Left had aired, that's when most of us found out that this episode was going to be called The Stolen Earth. And I'm all for keeping secrets as a creator, but I don't see the big impact of this. I mean, is the title that much of a whammy? Is that so much like, oh my god, what's going to happen? Maybe it is, maybe it's not, maybe I'm overthinking it. Okay, so let's dig into the plot. So the Doctor arrives on Earth after having been warned of the bad wolf, see previous episode, and nothing's wrong. He steps into the TARDIS starts shaking, and the Earth's gone. Yeah, basically this entire episode is focused on the people that the Doctor used to travel with, more so than the Doctor himself. The Doctor and Donna are trying to figure out what happened to Earth, but they're mostly led to a few minor scenes where they're trying to figure things out, talking to the people of the Shadow Proclamation, which is still a vague thing. You're like, it's a boardroom. It looks like a boardroom. We never get to see what the Shadow Proclamation is supposed to be. The writer's notes from Russel T Davies were that the Shadow Proclamation was supposed to be a massive gathering of all kinds of aliens that we'd seen in the past. The lady from the Slitheen was supposed to be there, you know, her from Boomtown and World War III. Midshipman Frame was apparently supposed to be hiding around. Ideas for this were probably reused in the cantina scene in the End of Time, but here it's just... Here we see the fabled Shadow Proclamation that has been invoked several times in the series so far, and it's a bit underwhelming. It's the Doctor talking to a pale-skinned lady and a Jaduna there. But most of this episode focuses on the Dalek invasion of Earth. Not the episode, an actual Dalek invasion of Earth. And it's what Russell did do very well with the Daleks. They were always his series finale threats. Aside from Series 3, which featured the Master and the Daleks had a two-parter somewhere in the middle instead, every time Russel T Davies wheels out the Daleks, they are the end of times, the end of the world, the big bad that need to be overcome. Which is understandable in a way, because when Russell started out doing New Who, he was tasked with bringing everything back to the forefront that used to be old school. So the Daleks were definitely a part of that. So making them like the threat makes sense. Series 2, he brings back the Cybermen, and then he tries to trick us into thinking that the great enemy is the Cyberman invasion of Earth. But no, it's the Daleks yet again. And then Series 3 is the Master, and Series 4, the Daleks yet again. Yeah. We'll talk about Stephen Moffat's take on the Daleks later, but at the very least that Russel T Davies' Daleks were a constant, imminent threat. They were always the end be all. The only thing I never liked was that he wiped them out, he brought them all back. He wiped them out, he brought them all back. He wiped them out, he brought them all back. Like they go from 1 to million, 1 to million, 1 to million, like a few episodes. So it's probably good that Russel T Davies stepped down, because I really wasn't curious what he was going to do with the Daleks next time around. So all the people that the Doctor's travelled with, and we've seen like Torchwood and Sarah Jane Smith and Luke from the Sarah Jane Adventures, and Martha and Rose and Wilf and his daughter, and they get exposed to a single message: exterminate. And this take, when the music starts playing up, the dark and endless Dalek night, this is so great. I still think of this music when I think of the Daleks, as in the monsters. Jack Harkness breaks down and says, "There's nothing I can do, we're all dead." Sarah Jane Smith breaks out in tears and fears for the life of her son. He was so young. It's like these characters already know they've been beaten. There's nothing they can do. You know, for a series finale, this does a great job for setting up the second part. It makes the threat so imminent, so malevolent, and it's a curb stomp. The Daleks take over Earth, there's no contest about it. And only by the most minuscule, tiniest of threads do these companions, former companions, manage to get a line out to the Doctor so the Doctor can figure out where the Earth has been taken to. So the Stolen Earth is a great, fantastic setup. Brilliant. I would not change a thing about this. David Tennant's acting when he's, you know, stumped and he doesn't know what he has to do as the Doctor, and Donna is just looking at him like, figure something out. My family, my world, everything is gone. And he's just blank face, because the Doctor is absolutely without hope, without any idea what he can do. And then we get Journey's End. The Stolen Earth ended on a tremendous cliffhanger. The Doctor and Rose were finally reunited. This is the moment lots of people have been waiting for literal years. And he gets shot by a Dalek. Subsequently, the Dalek gets blown up by Jack Harkness, because everybody seems to be having these Dalek blow-uppy guns. but I digress. So the Doctor in the TARDIS with Jack, Donna and Rose is regenerating. And this is where the previous episode stops, and there is no next time on Doctor Who. This was so big in the UK that Russel T Davies, the series producer and head writer, was invited on several chat shows to just discuss the cliffhanger. Just the cliffhanger, an entire item about the cliffhanger. He hadn't realised how big he'd make this. Manic. So yeah, what happens? The Doctor's regenerating. Yep, Doctor's fine. He heals himself and he throws away the leftover regeneration energy into a hand of himself, long story, he had in the TARDIS. Okay, I understand you wouldn't swap around the Doctor in a serious finale like that. Like, it was obviously never gonna happen. But it feels a bit of a cop-out, especially with the way it had been retconned later on in the time of the Doctor, that this actually did cost the Doctor a regeneration. So he thought he was gonna end up as the 11th Doctor, as the last Doctor. Yeah. Doesn't quite work. For me, at least. I'm sure a lot of people are very happy to still see David Tennant in the rest of this episode, because this episode, yeah, most of it doesn't work for me. Okay, so what happens now is that the Daleks, they take the TARDIS and they put it on board their massive station, the Crucible. Davros, the creator of the Daleks, has returned. And he's created this army out of his own body, blah blah blah. So what happens is that the Doctor, Jack and Rose exit the TARDIS. Donna stays behind because she hears a faint noise of a beating of a heart. But Jack gets killed off, at least that's what the Daleks think. The Doctor and Rose get trapped in holding cells, big beams of light. And this is the rest of the episode. The Doctor and Rose talking to Davros. Now, talking isn't bad. There's some very good moments in this, but very little else happens. The Doctor has no agency in this. Nothing at all. Like, his companions are doing a lot of legwork here. Like, Mickey and Jackie show up to save Sarah Jane from Daleks. They end up on board the Crucible as well. They meet up with Jack Harkness. In the meantime, Martha is travelling around the world using some kind of a teleporter and a nuclear failsafe program that's supposed to blow up the Earth's crust. So they're all threatening the Daleks, but every time one of these threats is about to be executed, the Daleks just stop them, right? Because apparently, no, they're not good enough. None of them are good enough. So the Daleks are like, this close to winning, right? This close. I'm not even holding my fingers apart. There's like the tiniest minuscule atom between my fingers. That's how close the Daleks were winning. Yeah, so what happened to Donna in the TARDIS? Well, Donna ends up touching the hand, creating a metaphysical reaction. So the regeneration energy in this hand, combined with the life energy of Donna, creates a new being, a new David Tennant Doctor, half human, half Time Lord. So what's going on with this then? Now, aside from him being naked, they make up a thingamajig, and just when the big bomb that's supposed to blow up all of reality is supposed to go off, they show up, and he runs at Davros with his big thingamajig, and then he gets zapped. That's it. Writer's notes from Russel T Davies show that the original idea was that the 10th Doctor ran away from the Shadow Proclamation after they figured out that where Davros was hiding with the Daleks, they wanted to go to war. And the 10th Doctor really wasn't keen on leading any war anytime soon. You know, Time War, post-traumatic stress and all that. Now, this half-Time Lord Meta-Crisis Doctor, he was supposed to go back to the Shadow Proclamation, take the Judoon, and wage war upon the Daleks, cementing the fact that this Doctor was a lot different from the actual genuine article, so to speak. But we never get to see that, so it all gets boiled down to a few lines later on in the episode. Yeah, then Donna runs out the TARDIS, she grabs the thingamajig, and then she gets zapped. Right, that's it. End of the series. The bomb is about to go off, and what happens? Well, turns out that zapping Donna caused the energy that Donna instilled in the Metacrisis Doctor to, that was still part lingering inside her as well, apparently, and it made her super clever instead. So she uses this weird console, and the Daleks just get taken care of. So goofy. They just, are unable to do anything. They spin around, they can't fire, they're like tops, all the while going like, help, help. It's daft. It's bad. I really don't like this. It's like the near villain victory, and it gets undone in the most childish of fashions. This really doesn't work for me. And then the Metacrisis Doctor is like, no, we can't have these Daleks just remain like this, and he blows them all up. And then the 10th Doctor is like, we can't do that, that's genocide. And despite the fact that the 10th Doctor has done the exact same thing, several times over, he's blown up most of the Cybermen in the old parallel Earth. He's put all these Daleks into, there's the Phantom Zone. But the Metacrisis blows up a bunch of Daleks, and all of a sudden he's a problem. Yeah, these are the lines I was referring to earlier. He's supposed to be more warlike, more dangerous, but it's a lot of tell, don't show, and it doesn't work for me. All in all, the best thing that came out of this for me is when Davros proposes to the 10th Doctor. Davros made the Daleks, but the Doctor takes human beings and he fashions them into weapons. This isn't really that bad of a take, especially in the new series, where most of the people that he travelled with, at least the 10th Doctor, all turned out to be like these, proactive alien hunters in their spare time after this. Yeah, that was a good speech, and you do see that when Davros asks how many people have died for you, that hurts the Doctor, which is good. So, everybody's in the TARDIS, the Crucible blowing up. The Doctor is the destroyer of worlds, according to Davros. There was a psychic Dalek who could see all of time and space, because Russel T Davies loved his foreshadowing like this. I didn't even mention Dalek Khan because I really don't like storytelling like that. So we wind up with everybody who's been in the series so far in the TARDIS, and there's a glorious piece of music. They're towing the Earth back to its original position using Super Smith, the computer from Sarah Jane Adventures, Mr. Smith, channeled through K9, the Tin Dog, using the Torchwood power bank, something like that, and it's like, let's just smash all the continuity together and like give a glorious fan moment. And you see all these companions and former companions piloting the TARDIS at the same time, and the Doctor says, this is why I'm usually running around fapping about, because the TARDIS is supposed to be flown with several people. And everybody's just in harmony, working together, while this music is just swelling up, and it's beautiful. It's magical. And he drops them off one by one, and there's a daft goodbye between how he doesn't need to say I love you to Rose, and the 10th Metacrisis Doctor whispers something in her ear. We all know what he says, and she snogs him. That's a bit weird. Then Martha, Mickey, and Jack, they go off together. You're supposed to be like, oh, this is the new Torchwood, because Torchwood lost a lot of their members in their last series, and that's something that never gets picked up on. And then we get the saddest moment in the series, is when Donna starts breaking down because the human brain can't handle Time Lord activity. That's a bit, it feels a bit condescending towards us as the human species, but let's go with that. So, Donna's dying, and the doctor has to wipe her mind in order to save her life. Now, there's people that don't like this. It's like he's robbing her of her sense of being. He's doing this out of free will because she doesn't want this. She wants to die as herself. And I can see that. But, you know, they weren't actually gonna kill off anybody. So the doctor wiping her mind so that she may live. It's supposed to be like a bittersweet ending for her. I think this is handled a bit better in the end of time when you see her finally getting married with somebody who supposedly actually genuinely loves her, which is good, which is nice for her. That girl is not a bad girl, she deserves good things. And then the doctor poses as a doctor called John Smith, and he says, Donna is just, I'm just gonna leave. And you get that famous scene of him sad in the rain with his hair going down like that. And there's no cliffhanger. Usually these series end up on a happy note, like Series 3 ended with the Titanic ramming into the ship. Series 2 ended with Donna aboard in a wedding dress. Series 1 ended with the Doctor regenerating, going like, oh, Barcelona! And this is just, no happy ending, no quirky curveball. This is it. It's sad. Journey's End is a thing. It has good moments, but on the whole, I'm not happy with how it resolved everything. How it took a fantastic setup and it kind of fumbled the ball in the end. It's not my favourite of Russel T Davies' series finales. That's probably still the parting of ways. Russel T Davies still had a few episodes left before he would hand over the reins, because Stephen Moffat was going to take over in 2010. But yeah, that would leave an entire year without Doctor Who production. So he created 4 more specials, which are of varying quality. And one of them is The End of Time. If I had issues with how Journey's End takes a premise and fumbles it, End of Time does that a little bit more. So this is probably would have been a better series closer for David Tennant as a whole, in my opinion. Yeah. Well, feel free to disagree with me in the comments down below. That's where these things are for. I hope you're safe. I know we're supposed to be eating the rich, and it's quite difficult in an era of social distancing. So put a pin in that. Postpone that a little bit. Speaking of doctors and John Smith, yeah, we should do that soon.
And 5, very important, 5, don't let me eat pears.